you're moving from place to
Good
place.
morning and welcome back to the Tobago Updates Morning Show. And yes, we are here live in the Port Mall in Scarborough, Tobago. And thank you so much for sticking with us, viewers. So this morning we will be delving into our crime, the state of our crime in Trinidad and Tobago. Kayleigh, what are your thoughts before we bring on our guests? What are your thoughts with all that's been happening in Trinidad and Tobago?
My thoughts on the state of crime in Trinidad and Tobago. I mean, if we have to compare the murder rate now to the murder rates for the same period last year, I think it's getting a bit out of hand.
Yes.
It's quite ridiculous. And I mean, it's quite interesting also that the commissioner of police would have said, if she said that she's doing an excellent job, I commend her for that. She's very confident, and I think confidence is very important. So congratulations to her on a job well done, according to her. But in my personal opinion, I think that it's out of hand. In addition to that, earlier on, she would have mentioned that the crime rate should reduce by June, where in May, and I'm not seeing any improvements. I'm not seeing any improvements at all. Yeah, so I think that's quite ridiculous.
It's really ridiculous, Kayleigh. But thankfully, we have an expert who will be joining us this morning. So viewers, allow us to bring on screen with us, no stranger to us here in Tobago, or here on Tobago Updates, Mr. Collis Hazel, and he is the Assistant Commissioner of Police in Tobago. So Mr. Hazel, a pleasant morning to you, and how are you doing this morning?
I am fine, thank you, and it's also a delightful moment to be in your company and that of all your viewers within Trinidad and Tobago and the rest of the world.
Okay, so let's talk a little bit firstly about the accident that would have happened yesterday, claimed the lives of a very young couple. Let's talk about that in terms of road safety in Tobago.
So, first of all, I want to take the opportunity to express my deepest condolences to the family of the bereaved, that of the those persons, two young, intelligent persons who would have lost their life again this morning. Yesterday, was indeed very saddened for me to visit the scene of an accident and would have seen someone who I have worked with tremendously in another area of within the assembly at the business development unit where I served some time there, and of course Mr. Allen would have worked successfully there, is really one of the persons who we always depended on in terms of providing that educational to resolve anything in terms of finance and planning and development and entrepreneurship. She was just the life of the party. And of course, to her husband, who have excelled so successfully in the fire services, achieving all his accolades in terms of his exams, and someone who we were looking forward to in the high echelon of the fire services, would have lost their life to accident. Road traffic accident is one that is on the rise in Tobago, and of course the police will continue to work relentlessly in terms of reducing these forms of accidents but causing fatality. As you are well aware, part of our strategic plan focuses on increasing safety in public spaces, and therefore part of that we want to be able to ensure that we enhance our road safety initiatives. And one of the strategies that will be coming on board in order to treat with that is an increase in our direct patrols in some areas that are prone to fatal and serious RTAs. I must say to you that under the tenure of the previous commissioner of police, some training was done in the Tobago space in order to roll out that program, and the officers have already been trained. What we are waiting for is the arrival of the vehicles that will see us put that whole programming in place on our highway. As small as it is, we really want to ensure that we police that highway. And at this point in time, I know every effort would be made to ensure that that program kick off, because what we have seen and what we know for a fact is that we have much more cars, much more vehicles on the road. The roadway continue to be the same space that we have known for decades, but yet still we have had an increase in terms of speed and persons not providing utilizing the Motor Vehicle and Road Traffic Act regulations in order to guide them as they drive recklessly on the roads here in Tobago. And part of our strategy, of course, will be to ensure that we continue our road safety campaign on the island, and particularly with even our young drivers, in ensuring that they are well aware and well acquainted in how to utilize their vehicle properly on the nation road, taking into consideration the road having 6 to date fatalities. Really is a record-breaking situation for Tobago. And at this point in time, I can give the public the assurance that we are going to be going into a zero tolerance mode on our nation's road, on our roads in Tobago, because we cannot tolerate what is taking place here on the roads any more than that has gone before. Clearly, something is amiss, and therefore we have to be able to ensure that our policing strategy, our games are up to deal with delinquent motorists that are racing in these roads and taking the lives of so many citizens who have contributed immensely in several ways to the development of this island. So I really want to say at this point in time that we will be engaging other persons to assist us all up in that. So I can give you all assurances that I have been in communication with the Transport Commissioner since this incident took place, and Tobagonians could be afford to be assured that I am bringing back the licensing authority in full force to join with the TTPS in ensuring that people obey the laws that governs the road traffic on this island.
So Hazel, you know that manpower is one thing, but in terms of technology, what is the police force, what is the TTPS doing in terms of implementing the CCTV cameras? I know that recently the chief secretary would have spoken a little bit about it, but what is there? Is there anything in place in terms of CCTV cameras to curb the incidents that we haven't taken place on the roads of Tobago?
Well, the point about it is CCTV cameras is very reactive. What we need is proactive actions on our nation's road. We don't want after the effect that somebody commits an offense and we send in a ticket in their mailbox when they are already committing the offense. Road traffic accidents really need that proactive actions, where at the end of the day, we can be on spot. And I can tell you that the directed patrols in which we are going to be implementing is one in where you're going to be observing at our traffic for our traffic signs and on interjections. We are going to find police patrols static at some of those areas, but there it is a new operation where we will now be rolling out, where our officers will not be considered just to be seeing themselves as traffic cops, but of course they are going to be doing other operations while they're there and can make themselves useful to the use of other persons in businesses and other persons that will require their services, so that even checks and road checks, searches will be conducted while they are on these static positions in terms of their keen observation in order to treat with such situation. We have identified these places that we want them to be placed, and of course we are going to be treating with that. We are going to be using our licensing officers to ensure that we go on a road safety campaign, because may I say to you, one of the things that a lot of persons aren't aware, while they're able to pass the regulations and so forth for the examination, there are so many offenses under the Motor Vehicle and Road Traffic Act that people aren't aware. And I think that public education is necessary. We have had improvement in this legislation, and therefore we need for our motor vehicle and road traffic officers and our police officers to get there and sensitize, educate, and to act as a catalyst for change in ensuring that those behaviors that are exhibited at this point in time really change. 6 fatalities, no way.
Hazel, and sticking on cameras, but a different type of cameras. With the accident that occurred yesterday, we would have seen where someone would have taken a drone photo of the deceased and posted it all over medias. But I know in other countries there are laws and protocols that along the lines of breaching the vulnerability and dignity of the dead. So my question is, do we have any laws in Trinidad and Tobago that protects the privacy and the vulnerability of the dead? Because, you know, as a family member, someone close to the dead, it will be very hurtful to, you know, be grieving and having someone to, you know, go the extra mile of taking a drone picture of the deceased and having to see it plastered all over media channels. Are there any laws in Trinidad and Tobago that protect our dead?
Not only that protects our dead, but also the laws that protect the use of drones flying in the territorial space. So again, that is what has been done in terms of social media. I've been made aware of that on the scene, and clearly an investigation is going to be launched in terms of how we treat with that situation, because it's really untenable that someone would be able to deal with that situation in such a very uncaring manner. You know, we have to understand what we post on social media, and unless we make someone responsible for the actions, streams will continue to flow into rivers and rivers will continue to flow into seas. And therefore, these are incidents that certainly will be investigated, and I can say where the chips fall, they may.
Mr. Hazel, and licensing officers, you know, just mere months ago, we would have observed that quote-unquote scandal with the licensing officers here in Tobago, where a lot of Tobagonians were of the belief that the licensing officers were here to oppress them. And you would have said in your statement that you will be ensuring that the licensing officers would be coming back to Tobago to ensure that all motorists, everyone on the road, they are kept up to date, they are educated, and that they are operating within the laws and regulations of the licensing and by extension and Tobago. But what are your thoughts on Tobagonians, you know, because a lot of Tobagonians are of the belief that, you know, the licensing officers are not needed in such huge numbers in Tobago. What are your thoughts on that?
May I say to you that everybody is in Trinidad and Tobago has a function, has a role, and has a responsibility. As a law enforcement officer, it is not for me to criticize the function of my colleagues. What one needs to understand is that we have a function and we have a role. And the licensing officer's function and that of the police is there to protect and provide that safe guidance to our citizens in order to know how to use the road so that it will make all of us safe. So the same thing can be said that there are too many police officers that are coming to serve us. But for heaven's sake, when anything happens, the first thing we run to is the police. And therefore, I cannot sit down here and side with anybody who want to bring to the impression that we have too many licensed officers here and they are doing, as a matter of fact, we have 3 licensed officers that are on this island. And certainly 3 is insufficient. I do not know how they manage that humongous task in carrying out all those duties with only 3 officers. And clearly, they are my counterparts. We in the police service have many other functions to do, and therefore they have a responsibility as well to be able to protect and guide and serve our road users, and therefore every effort is going to be made. I will not go in any way to say that we are not going to be bringing them back. They are responsible, they work with us. This is an independent body, and therefore no one can stop anybody from coming on this island under national security to perform their function. We have an independent function, and we are a creature of the Constitution of Trinidad and Tobago, and everybody needs to follow within their remit. That is our role, and therefore we're going to ensure that our role and functions are maintained on this island.
Okay, Mr. Hazel.
Okay, Mr. Hazel, earlier on you would have spoken about newer drivers doing the regulations and doing their driving tests and still not being aware of all the rules and regulations there are in Trinidad and Tobago. I mean, recently I would have been at a little meeting and I learned a lot of new things that I really did not know. I didn't know that when you come in from sports and games side, you're going towards Republic Bank, you actually can't go straight across. I knew before that when you come in from Scarborough to go to Republic Bank in Orkinscue, you can't make the right turn. You have to go and turn around and then go into Republic Bank. So what is your strategy? Is it only the licensing officers you're going to utilize to implement or reinforce those laws for Tobagonians, or is there some type of education that you probably want to implement as well, maybe when persons doing their regulations? Because I know when I did my regulations, it was mainly memorizing the information and then regurgitating it, because I mean, it's just a multiple choice exam. There's not any kind of big set of thing to it. And then some persons, they do the regulations, drive for about 2 weeks, they just drive in the regular driving route there in Scarborough, and that's it. So there are a lot of things that persons aren't aware of. What is your strategy in terms of bringing awareness to that?
Okay, so our road safety campaign, we do have a road safety campaign. And may I say to the Trinidad and Tobago public that I am the representative for the Trinidad and Tobago Police Service on the Cabinet Appointed Committee for National Road Safety. And we are at this point in time rolling out a road safety plan. And therefore, our road safety plan, I want to tell you guys that we reached from the stage where I think it's 2021. We were showing the world we had the lowest road fatalities in the world, Trinidad and Tobago. And because of that, PAHO is now conducting a study as to what were the best practice initiative that caused us to fall under that I can't quote the figures now, but that where we were able to fall under that. And quite rightly, we have dropped. Here we are at a situation where Tobago have 6 fatalities. I am saying to us, it is important that we need to be able to educate and inform. So some of the strategies we want to start from our secondary schools and to ensure that our young drivers not only just focus their attention on learning to drive, but learning to drive even defensive driving in terms of so that they have a better understanding of the whole idea of the use of the road and how in terms of treating with speed and how an accident can be caused, and all these things that happen in the defensive driving courses. So it is starting with schools, starting to have a greater participation and attention, reaching out there to NGOs, CBOs, community-based organization, and that is part of the function of the licensing authority. We also have updated regulations in the Motor Vehicle and Road Traffic Act quite recently, where we have the demerit points taking place. And may I say to you that many of us aren't aware the legislation came into being, it was thrown upon us, but some of us aren't aware now that even as you go to buy a new vehicle, and you are buying that new vehicle not knowing that the vehicle in which you are buying, if you didn't change the ownership, the owner did not change that, you did a change in ownership with respect to that vehicle, it is now difficult. You didn't allow that let's take for instance that there was some demerit points issued to that driver who owns that vehicle, and you didn't have him dealt with those issues on his of law with his demerit points. You now going and purchase that vehicle. When you are ready to transfer that vehicle in your name, you end up in a lot of challenges because that owner had not paid up all his debts as it relates to this that is on his license, and therefore you stand there with a vehicle you are trying to get transferred, and really what you have to do is basically to clear up all those debts. Now, many people aren't aware of that and find themselves now with a vehicle on their hand, now looking to change when the owner is out of the country and gone. So there are so many things that we need to be educated on. And therefore, this is what our license officers and our police officers are going to be doing, using medium like this forum in order to come on board and to educate and to teach and to sensitize. So we can't see it there as a license officer only outside there to give tickets and we don't want them and they belong to Trinidad. I just come from Trinidad and I'm working in Tobago. So what are we talking about? They are agents of the state. And as far as I'm concerned, Trinidad and Tobago is part of the unitary state and we can work anywhere. So this foolish talk that we keep on talking about, I am going to debar that immediately. We will work anywhere and anytime because we are creatures of this constitution that we all govern under. What we need to do is to tell our people, for God's sake, let us be safe. Let us think about tomorrow. Let us understand and care for the other road users. Every day we wake in the same bed, but not in the same world. We have to be more caring. We have to be more responsible. We have to talk to our children. We have to talk to the persons now. It is so sad to know that we have lost the lives of these two young, beautiful, successful people. You go and ask anybody in the office of the Division of Finance about Miss Allen Adams, and ask anybody about that fire officer that they lost their life and leaving behind their 3 children. And you could understand the pain that they are going through. And by the way, we in the police service are providing, we did provide psychosocial counseling and support to the family so that those 2 children will get a sense of understanding as to how to treat with the debt, and all of that was done yesterday for them. So we are asking at this point in time, let us consider the dangers that is affected and stop talking about police and licensed officers just being there to charge, but let's encourage our citizens to do what is right. The right thing can only be the right thing. And that is what we are here for, to enforce the laws and act as a catalyst for change.
All right, Mr. Hazel, thank you so much for giving us that educational tidbit on our road safety. But let's switch over into crime. Now, you would have stated that, we have a lot of young drivers. But when we look at the crime rate in Tobago and what's been happening in the crime space, we are seeing that a lot of youths, a lot of our young men are appearing to be on the opposite side of the law. Just recently, we would have had a murder, well, a death. Mr. Hakeem Thomas, another young guy. What are your thoughts, and why do you think that a lot of youths are getting involved in crime, especially in Tobago?
May I say to you and to Tobago that the persons from our statistics, we have noted that persons within the age of 18 to 35, 36, within that age room are the persons who are committing crime and criminality. And one would ask yourself, why are these persons involved? And therefore, we need to go back to the whole idea that we can look at all answers we can come from. We can look at the answers that our young people want to go to the fact that crime, from an economic standpoint, crime pays for them. And therefore, one could take the slant of crime as a social construct, as Durkheim pined to all of us, that at the end of the day, crime and criminality comes out of a social construct where in the society things are not happening, and therefore people will fall prey to social ills in society. There are other theorists who posit various opinions, and what that has been proven and tested in terms of the reasons why people will get involved in crime. But one of the things that we have noted is the fact that crime has the gang culture of criminality seems to be persuasive over our young persons, where young people tend to look out there for that idea of support and encouragement and partnership in terms of what they set out to do. And what we have seen, that many of the youths, even out of the schools, are being recruited into gang. So we have had semblance of all the gangs noted within Trinidad, Muslim and Rasta City and 6, 7, and 8, you just name it. They haven't been encroaching in this beautiful island of Tobago and recruiting our young boys and girls into the gang warfare and the culture, and coming here in our space. May I say too, some of the developments that are taking place here, let us not hide it, where Trinidadians are coming here and with some of the development programs that are being rolled out where they are in charge, are bringing their criminal elements on this island who are working with them. But what is interesting is the fact that some of our very own people here are creating that space to accompany them, to allow them, and keep very, very quiet. This is not something that the Tobago population was accustomed to. I grew up in a place where every time you see some stranger, it would have been brought to the attention of the police, who he, who she, where she come out. And at the end of the day, it gets to us and we try to find out. We are having people coming here and sitting down here comfortably among our young boys and girls, eating, drinking, liming, smoking, and having a jolly good time. And only when we do our checks, field checks, and searches and raids, and we look into our system, we realize that these are criminals who have coming here to hide out from their gang warfare and encouraging our young people. And we sit down quiet as a people, lay back and allowing that to take place, not knowing that they are infiltrating on our very young, beautiful island of paradise. And we have had more than that. We have had parents who are sitting there allowing their young children, knowing that they're not working one goddamn place, coming home night after night and bringing in firearms and ammunition in the place and lie down there comfortable with them, encouraging them, because at the end of the day, they're handing them a $5,000, knowing fully well that they are not working anywhere. But we comfortable with that. These are the same people who get up there in social media and blame the idea where all the police doing on the road, where all our licensed officers doing on the road. But if we don't do that, we can't know. And therefore, we have to make checks to ensure that we rid people of these risks and these mistrends in society, very small in number, that is causing a problem in the lives of our citizens. And clearly, I am saying to us, we have to trust somebody, Tobagonians. We have to trust someone in this fight against crime. I have heard all kinds of things about trust and developing trust and confidence and so forth. But we have to understand the bigger picture is that all of us have to live here. And when we start dropping like flies by this level of banditry, we can develop this small, beautiful economy of tourism on this island. We just imagine that we are sitting, we have just reached on, the Tobago House of Assembly was able to get condo to come on stream again in the winter season. We have developed our carnival product so that we can bring some more local and domestic tourists into the island. We are now building out our tourism economy. But may I say to us, if we are affected by crime and we continue to get those international advisories, no tourists ain't coming here. No foreign exchange is not going to be coming at our doorstep to support our same brothers and sisters who we are condoning in crime and criminality. So what do we want? What do we want? What are we asking for? And therefore, the plea and the cry is for us to be responsible citizens. The plea is for us to stand up for what is right and work for what must be done. And stop being deceitful people and hiding when at the end of the day, your life is in danger, that you don't know when your shot will call when we encourage things like these. So I'm saying to us, the time has come that we need to ensure these scourges that are coming on society. Provide us with the information. I was very fortunate that only yesterday I journeyed to the Eastern Division, my other area of responsibility, where I was able to commend 4 officers who were able to find an AR-15 automatic weapon and over 100 rounds of ammunition and remove it from our area. 17 years old, a young boy. And I went to Eastern Division yesterday to offer congratulations and to commend these officers for their hard and dedicated work in eradicating our streets of all those ammunitions which each one of them can take the life of our dearly beloved citizens. Tobagonians, we cannot afford that type of violence. We are not a people like that. And therefore, I'm asking you to rise up against the criminal elements We need the churches, we need the school, we need the business communities, we need everyone, we need the fishermen. You all have a responsibility because your profession is being targeted, that many people are encroaching in your space as the true fishermen who are fighting out there to bring fish ashore. And there are people who proposing themselves as fishermen and are fueling the trade of bringing firearms and ammunition on our land. And therefore, we need to put the fight against all these situations in ensuring that we bring this scourge to an end. We can't sit down there, the police can't be everywhere. And therefore, our partnership approach has started. Today,
I want to just thank you. Time is of the essence here. We're all out of time. It says about this segment was a really interesting and informative segment. Hopefully, we can bring you on more often as we continue to have these types of discussions because they are very important to us here and even to the citizens of Trinidad and Tobago. So thank you once again, Mr. Hazel, for joining us this morning on this Friday morning. And so viewers, that was ACP Collis Hazel. Kayleigh, what are your thoughts on that interview? I find it was very informative.
Very informative. I think that's definitely the word to describe it. A lot of things that we did not know. I mean, he spoke about the vehicle situation.
Yes.
If somebody had some issues with their vehicle before and they're signing it over to you, you have to be very careful with that kind of thing. So I think education is key. I think that's what we should take out of this interview. Education is key. There are a lot of things that we don't know in terms of the road safety in Trinidad and Tobago.
And we would have seen that when the licensing officers were here, a lot of the drivers would have said, I didn't know that this was wrong. I did not know. Not that they were saying that, they want to do it or they should be right. They started their statement with, I did not know. So it will be really important if, here in Tobago, Trinidad and Tobago, we can educate our population so they can know the rights from the wrong and not have to learn it when they're receiving a ticket. So, yeah, Kayleigh, that was a really, really great interview. And I really look forward to seeing more of ACP Collis Hazel here.
Yeah, I think he's doing an excellent job.
Yeah, he is. He's doing an excellent job,
Definitely.
Other people would have said excellent, but
yeah, I think he's excellent.
He's actually
he deserves the excellence.
All right, so viewers, thank you so much for joining us here this morning on this Friday afternoon. For those of you who are going and drive out this afternoon, going to the bars, on Friday morning, I'm so ready for the Friday afternoon vibes. Yes, I'm ready for the Friday afternoon vibes. But for those of you who will be driving over to bars, driving to check up on friends, just be careful, be aware of your surroundings and be safe. I don't want to hear any sad news this weekend, guys. Just please be safe. Remember to stay close to the people that you love. Stay close to God. Once again, I am Luke Trim.
And I am Kayleigh Lewis. This is
Friday.
Friday.
Thank
God it's Friday.
Thank God it's Friday. All right, viewers, so we'll be heading over to Tobago Notes at this moment. So thank you once again for joining us. Take care.